friends, welcome to Kiln Unload Day. Waiting is the hardest part. Oh, hold your breath. Did you make a wish? Wishing on the kiln gods, give me something good. Welcome to this week's Kiln Unload and a weekend in the life of a newbie-ish potter. All right, I'm not doing a full kiln unload at the moment, but I am just peeking at the top shelf. I have to get ready for my regular 9 to 5 work day, so I don't have time for the full kiln unloading. I will come back at lunchtime and see what all else is in here, but I'm excited to take a peek. It's been cooling for 24 hours and here we are. This is a small kiln unload, and I know there's only 6 pieces in here total, but I know there's some big stuff on the top shelf. Like there's a flower pot. It was my first attempt at making a planter, so you see how that came out. It had some problems in the production process. There was a crack. It kind of fell apart a little bit at the base. And I actually reattached it and like hand built the bottom back on. But it made through the bisque okay, and I was like, let me just glaze fire it for the hell of it as a nice exercise, see what happens, see if it holds water, holds a plant, and then, you know, take my learnings from that. So I also did like a new inventive glazing style on it, and I'm excited to see that. I want to know if it's going to be something I want to replicate on a mug. It was a little bit time consuming, but my son helped me with it. He was very excited about it. Actually, we do like this gratitude exercise in our family every day where we say what was our rose, our bud, and our thorn. So Google that real quick if you've never done it before. But he told me that his rose for the other day was pottering with mom. So I let him peel the washi tape off. I did some tape resist on this planter, and yeah, that just struck me like I did not expect that to be his favorite thing of the day, and it was such a small thing. It only took like, you know, 8 minutes for me to involve him in taking the tape off of the glazed piece that I already did, and he was, that melted my heart. Like, it was his favorite part of the day, and I almost, you know, I had my door closed when I was glazing. I almost didn't involve him, but he was kicking around outside my door, and I was like, hey, do you want to be involved in this? And it doesn't take long to involve kids in your day. Like, it could be anything. You could be doing chores. It could be unloading the dishwasher. They just want to be near you. They just want to interact with you. They want to be part of your world, and it's so special to them, and things that you don't even think about are so special to them. So I need to do that more, and that is a huge mental note to self. All right, here we go. Drum roll, please. Oh, I had some. Ooh. I wonder if these are too hot to touch. Oh, they're a little toasty. I might need to get my gloves. Interesting. Oh my goodness. What? Okay. Did some things that I was not expecting. I forgot that in addition to the planter, I have a cup on the top shelf that was my first attempt at recycling glaze chips. So I collected all my old glaze chips. I could do a video on that if anybody's interested, but I actually let the water evaporate from my like paintbrush rinsing station. It all collects in the bottom, like a whole quart of water collects at once. And I let it evaporate and get really low, and I siphon off the water on the top and let all the glazed parts settle, and then I just let it dry out for like a week. And then I empty that into a mason jar and I collect all my great glaze scraps. So I did top that I rolled the rim in the glaze scraps. And it looks really cool. It's like very periwinkle-ish, like light blues, purples. I can't really see it completely from here. And then it has, I don't know what I did under it, like Spanish moss or sand and sea or something. I'm gonna have to look at my book and what I wrote down. It's too hot for me to touch right now, so I'm gonna get my gloves. And I'll probably pause you until I'm done with my morning meetings, honestly, and come back, which is sad, but it's gonna be a good day. It's a kiln opening day. I have my new trusty kiln unload gloves because my boring of the kitchen pair was very problematic. I still haven't re-bisqued the pieces that I accidentally got teriyaki sauce on from my husband's grilling gloves, so now we have our own dedicated set for the pottery shed. And he was teasing me the other day saying he was gonna borrow mine for cooking. No, off limits. All right, I already peeked. I'm super happy about the top shelf, but there's some interesting things happening, so let's talk through them. Get my mug out of the way. All right. So first and foremost, we're really interested to see this piece. Whoa! Okay. That is really cool. Okay, let's see how I can get the best lighting for this. This did some cool things. So this is another light flux experiment. I did some tape resist on it with some stroke and coat. So I did get a couple of air bubbles. I could potentially try to refire. I don't know why I'm getting those air bubbles. It looks great on the inside. No bubbles. Just a couple on the rim. All right, so this was one layer all over with light flux, Mayco light flux. And I did not go past the rim with it. Then I did a tape resist. So the lighter stripes here are light flux on the bottom because I did one coat all over. No, sorry, I put the tape on first and then I did light flux all over in the recessed areas, whatever you would say, the areas that didn't have tape, one coat of light flux to start. Then I put bands of color with stroke and coat over the light flux. And I put on 2 to 3 coats of stroke and coat just so that it looked good and covered, that I would get opaque coverage. And then I went over the entire thing with sea glass? No, milk glass. So I went over the entire thing with milk glass, including the rim. And it's had this really cool effect. I don't know why I got just a couple bubbles on one side here. Oh, there are a few pinholes. So this was a cone 7 fire, which I don't normally do a ton of cone 7, so I rarely get to it. All I can think of, I don't know, this is a cone 7. You know what? You know what? This is problematic. Okay, there's speckle in this clay. I thought this was my cone 7 porcelain, but now I am wondering if potentially I got my clay bodies mixed up, because this looks an awful lot like it got some B mix mixed into it. So I'm glad it's not showing a ton of signs of being overfired, but it seems like some of my reclaim might have gotten mixed up. Boo-boo on my part. And it did crack a little bit under stress, probably because I mixed 2 different clay bodies. But it doesn't look like it's going through the entire bottom, so I think it'll still be a fully functioning planter. And this was just a test, so my heart is not destroyed over it. It's very cool though, very cool looking. It's got a lot of this, like, I'm gonna have to go back because I didn't even think I used red, but it's got a lot of this that's pulling red. I thought I used Stroke and Coat. I'll put it in the description. I tried to stick with just blues, greens, purple, and orange. So the fact that I'm getting red here is really interesting, and it kind of looks volcanic. Like it's magma dripping down the sides of my pot. Lava flow situation. But yeah, there's speckle in here. That should not be the case for my cone 7 porcelain. And it's funny, in my cone 7 to 10 porcelain from high water clays, it was the first clay I ever threw with, which I know is not a good beginner clay. Porcelain is really hard to work with. I feel like it taught me so much. Like I tried and failed, tried and failed, tried and failed so many times. I think I ended up reclaiming like my whole first 50-pound batch, 25-pound batch. I forget how much I originally purchased of clay. Like that's how many trials and failures I had. And it was a good coach. It was a good teacher. So I don't regret it. But it is a lot easier to work with stoneware clays. So I've kind of migrated to a cone 5, cone 6 happy range that I work within most of the time. But I had a lot of cone 7 bisque pieces hanging out, and this being one of them, unfortunately got kind of combined. Let's see if the other ones were pure cone 7 porcelain or if they got a weird hybrid clay. Oh man, this one has speckle too. I thought that this was purely Laguna Frost porcelain, and it is definitely not. So it did crack a bit, but that's okay. I got to test out using glaze chips, which I've never done before. So this is my first take on that. I believe I did an entire, this is either Sand and Sea or, no, this is Succulent Celadon all over, inside and out. And then Spanish moss on the inside over it and on the rim. Everything times 2. And then I just rolled this in glaze chips or sprinkled them on. And it's got this cool effect. It does have some dark stuff in here, probably because I have tiger's eye glaze. And you can see like it did run some reds and orangey colors, but it's mostly muted. And again, I've got lots of pinholes because I mixed my clay bodies, unfortunately. But this is good learning experience for me. I've got more Mint Speck in here. All right, I was so excited to buy this new glaze. So Mint Speck, and you've seen me fire this on a darker clay body, which came out very muted and very like minimalist, modern kind of look. Somebody told me because it has a lot of iron oxide in speckle buff clay, I believe. That's why it looks more muted. That makes sense. So I wanted to fire it on a more white clay body. And this is my cone 7 to 10 porcelain. I hope it does look a tiny bit like it has grog. I don't know. And it did crack. Ah. All right, but look how beautiful it is. The glaze. This glaze is really stunning. Ugh, it's got that like minty goodness. And I don't know if that's really coming through in this lighting.
And this was a little mushy bowl. I did wax resist to match some of the mushy tea sets that I've done in the past. Yeah, and I threw this a while ago. It's got my initials instead of my logo. Can you see? It's got a tiny crack. I don't know if you can see it right here in the middle. I think I have a tendency when I throw to really press down with my middle finger and it gets uneven in the base as a result. So I've had some cracks from that. I need to be better about compressing it with a sponge. But again, I threw this a while ago. This is, yeah, March of this year. And I just got around to firing it because I thought it was cone 7. And I think for the most part it is cone 7, so maybe some of this speck is just like debris it picked up, I'm not sure. I hope I don't have any cracks in this next one. This was like a sentimental piece. All right, I had my boys help me with a piece. And we did like a little family hands pasta bowl. Oh, there is a crack in the bottom of it. But it actually does, I don't know, maybe it's just my reclaim. It doesn't go through. I think it's still usable in my kitchen. So we did Mint Speck all over, but I did a wax resist over these handprints. So this is Kai's handprint and Cal's little baby handprint. I was feeling bad. I forgot to do his handprints for his baby book. So I was like, well, we'll just immortalize him in a pasta bowl for the kitchen. And then I'll go back and do his handprints. But I think this was chartreuse underglaze. I let Kai pick his own color. And then we did, what is this? Like a teal turquoise blue underglaze for Cal. I'll have to look up which color that is because it's really pretty. It's like a dark teal. Mama's favorite color. Again, superficial cracks. But that's gonna look really cute in the kitchen. I can always hang it on the wall or something like that. All right, let's get this kiln shelf out. Again, this was a very small kiln batch. Only 6 items total. That's why I really love the size of this kiln, because I can just impromptu throw a quick batch. If I had a couple things I pumped out over the weekend. This one's really pretty. Mint Speck again. Not a lot of diversity in this kiln load. I had just gotten the Mint Speck and I was so excited about it. And again, this was thrown in May, just like this wavy, organic looking shape. Sometimes when I wobble a piece and it's falling apart, you just turn it into an organic looking bowl, right? That's the way to salvage it. It's a silver lining. No cracks in this one. This is beautiful. Okay, and last but not least, I threw this on a stilt so that I could glaze the whole bottom of it. This was my first stab at a bubble plate, and I wanted to underglaze the entire underside of it because I just felt like a bubble plate needs to be like super glossy and smooth, and I didn't want any like imperfections on the bottom. I just wanted it to be like very smooth and sleek, slippery like a bubble. And it looks like there is a little bit of speckle in this clay as well. So something made its way into my reclaim for sure. But that's okay. That's why it's reclaim. This one survived without cracks, which is cool. It has a little bit of speckle on the top, but I'm just using it in my kitchen. No big deal. Tiny, tiny little pinholes. Maybe one right there. I don't think it's worth refiring. I can eat a breakfast muffin off of that or something. I'm not too worried about it. People have been using clay for thousands of years and eating off of it, and this is good enough for me. Everybody has to make their own decisions and trade-offs in life, and as long as you understand the risks, you can assume the risks, that's just fine. All right. That was it for today, my friends. So, mixed results. I feel like I'm most excited about that planter because I got to try out a new glaze styling technique, and because my son said that was his rose for the day. So that's probably my favorite of the batch. This one here. If I had to pick a favorite, even though I love a mushy bowl, this was a really fun technique that I got to do with my son, and I'll try this again, maybe with some different stroke and coat colors. Obviously, the handprints is a sentimental favorite, and getting to try out the Mint Speck on a new lighter clay body was really exciting because it pops more. So I'll try to put some pictures in there of that, but I don't think it's as cool as this one. Yeah. So this one was, I forgot to mention, celadon, succulent celadon all over, ×3. And look, this fits in here perfectly as a saucer. Matching glaze on the bottom. So this kind of gives you an idea of variation. So this was succulent ×2 on the same clay body, succulent ×3. So it's a little more transparent in the cup, but makes a cool little set. All right, here's where we take a look at a day in the life. He's sleeping. You're on camera.
I'll edit this piece up. Doing some pretty hack work out there. I'm starting to have second thoughts about the PVC tube, and I just want to get a long piece of copper piping. I want to look at that Amazon link you sent me with the misters, because maybe that, if it's long enough.
Yeah, it's like 86 feet, I think.
Just don't want to think it's too expensive. I paid like $10 for the pipe. If it's $40 for the Amazon thing, I'll be like, whatever.
I had all these new ribs from Garrity Tools, which were very cool, and I was very excited to test them out. And here we go. Moment of truth with this rib. Can we make a wine tumbler? Moderate success. So something I should not be doing, and please learn from my mistake, is using your brand new stylized ribs to pry up your throwing bat, because I totally just cracked an entire little edge off of my rib on one of them, and I really regret doing that. So learn from my mistakes and do not as I do. I started to try making that first pull as I'm bringing the walls out,
to see if it would make a difference in the amount of height I get in my pulls. I think it's helping a little bit. I don't have the most productive pulls here. All right, so this is a cautionary tale because I am not that familiar at throwing with these stylized ribs. I think that I started the piece way too wide, way too thin. I should have started it like very much in a thick column with a narrow opening and then thrown it into the rib. I've since learned from this. Anyway, here's take number 2. This one I just had to sacrifice to the wheel gods. Pottery is definitely a challenge, and it's something that takes hundreds and thousands of hours to master. I am only in my, I shouldn't say only, like I've had a couple of years of pottery under my belt, and prior to that I had done it a few times over the course of my life, but this is really me branching out and adopting this as a hobby at my own home. So I've got about 2 years under my belt of pottering in my own home pottery studio. And I still run into a lot of these, beginner mishaps, especially if I'm playing and experimenting with new things. But that is what I love about this type of hobby. And in particular, the majority of my hobbies are things that have a very steep learning curve. They're a huge challenge. They keep me interested. They keep me coming back because I am so stubborn and I just want to get better and better at them. And sometimes that means that my hobbies kick me when I'm down. But for the most part, they are a constant source of joy and stress relief, and they really keep my mind engaged, and they keep me puzzling to figure it out, which is something that I'm really grateful for. I'm probably doing myself a disservice in not really having a clear vision for what I'm building as soon as I throw the clay down onto my wheel head. The fact that this has gone from a split wall to a planter style wide base shape to now a cylinder, and then I'm probably going to try to use the rib to create some type of drinkware, tells me that I have probably butchered the memory of this piece of clay. So I would not be surprised if this goes through the drying stages, if it gets that far, and has some cracking. But we shall see. So you'll see me trying to get more height through my pulls so that this next time I use the rib, I can use the rib to the full extent of its height. I think I'm using Kentucky Mudworks Brown Bear clay here. As you can see, it is all over my wheel. I did not bother cleaning it up or changing it out until I was fully through that entire block of clay. So really just trying to figure out the angles with these ribs. I'm under the impression that you can kind of just throw it into the rib with the bottom portion of the rib sitting flush to the wheel head, but that doesn't seem to be working out for me. I seem to have to angle it in at like a 45 degrees. So if anybody has any tips, I am all ears. I would love to know if you have any learnings that you have taken away from using this type of stylized rib. All right, here we go again with another attempt at a wine tumbler. That actually looked pretty smooth. But it turned out very straight walled, so here I go again trying to get more of a curve. I think I ended up having to color it back in with the rib. I've been having some trouble with S-cracks in my pieces. I feel like it might notoriously be my middle finger somehow puts a divot in the bottom floor of my cups and sometimes bowls. Usually I use a sponge on the back end to compress everything, but I think narrow vessels for some reason, like I can't get in there great with the sponge, and my middle finger's longer than the rest obviously, so is everyone's, but I don't know why. It just seems like my middle finger is causing the problem. Still looks a little too wide for this rib, and you can see it bouncing around. Again, not really what I was going for. This was definitely a day full of trial and error.
Alright, what are we doing? What are we doing?
A little bit of frustration.
I'm like strangling the place today.
I tried to smile through it, tried to stay positive.
Tiny cat. Tiny cat. Back to basics. Back to basics. What am I doing? What am I doing?
Again, this was my first time using this type of rib to throw with, and it was a little trickier than I thought. That's a good look for me. Clay all over my nose. I must have gotten some backsplash. Splash back. Again, I'm still really wide in the base here. I feel like I didn't actually figure this out this day, and I think I came back on day 2 of trying to use these ribs and had a much better technique. Let me speed this footage up and see if we can find that spot, that sweet spot where it started to make sense. Going through a few iterations of weak spots in the walls. I think there were some air bubbles. Long story short, day 1 of throwing with these Garrity ribs only brought me success in the wine tumbler category. As far as the taller drinking tumblers that kind of look like a Stanley cup shape, I really did not have success with that until day 2.
Alright, we are gonna try a bunch bigger wads of clay and 2 sizes. I don't have a scale out here to weigh this, and I really need to get one.
This is day 2. Yes, I'm wearing the same outfit, so sue me. I can't be the only one that does that. This is basically my throwing outfit for the weekend. Let me know in the comments. Or am I just a gross hippie? I don't know if I managed to make anything of those larger wads of clay. I think this was a very, very frustrating day. I prefer it to be raining when I'm out here trimming because it takes the heat down significantly. It is usually blazing hot in here, and then the sun rises and just cooks this little camper. And currently, because we had our patio redone, the dust got into the air filter of the AC for the camper. So I need to get on a ladder and take a look and see if I can clean my air filter. Because when the compressor kicks on, it struggles and trips the breaker. So we have that going on right now. Anyway, I'm going to trim these pots today. They're all wrapped up in plastic overnight. And these are all brown bear clay that I worked on yesterday with my new Garrity Tools ribs. So I'm excited to see how they all turn out. I have to decide if I want to put a nice trimmed foot on each one or if I'm going to leave some of them flat bottomed. They actually turn out pretty well with just using the rib because it kind of undercuts the bottom of it. So it looks like kind of a nice finished piece, and honestly we can just probably sponge off the bottoms on some of them and leave them flat. I just love the rain ASMR moment happening here. It's my favorite. I love to throw in the rain. So, I finally got this rib to work yesterday. Woo. Well, it's upside down, so technically I threw it like that. Now I'm working on trimming it. I didn't get it on video yesterday, but at least see me trimming it. Figured I would put a foot on here. Might narrow this a little bit just to see if I can fit it into like a car cup holder. It might need to be more narrow, I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna take the dimensions of it and put it in my logbook so that I can know the shrinkage rate that I'll need if I make more of these travel mugs. But did I actually do that? Nope. Thanks, ADHD. I'd like to be able to get like those silicone lids to make them more spill proof. So this is kind of my prototype. A little bit wet for me to be doing this, but we shall see. Why does it feel like "we shall see" is my catchphrase? Just finished taping my piece. And bloop. Someone's awake. Take this tape off. Can you help me pull this?
Oh.
Slowly. I'm gonna pull it off. Thank you. And then this part comes back down. There's one. Do you want to do another one? Let's see.
How about this one?
Here we go.
Are these the chips?
Yeah, we don't want to touch the glaze chips. I'll clean them up after. You peel that one?
Don't worry.
Go slow.
Did I do it slow?
Yep. Can't get that one.
Can you get this one?
I'm trying to get it in there. Hang on, let me see.
Yes, you can get it.
Looks pretty cool. Oh, here we go. It's a lot easier to do with my right hand. Oh. We're taking off tape.
Oh, look at you guys.
It's the satisfying peeling part.
Kind of knows how to peel the tape.
Go ahead, peel that one.
Oh.
All right, we have work to do.
How about
All right, what we're working with. I'm gonna hit this with a coat of milk glass. And then I'm gonna probably do milk glass on the clear on the inside, I guess. Probably dip it in clear. Also, I never do this, but I had a little Mama Me day, and I thought you guys might like to see some of what else is going on in my life besides the studio. And if you've stuck around to the end, I have some parting thoughts for you. I recently told my mother that I am an optimizer at heart, and that is something that is near and dear to me. It's always been kind of how I've identified myself in my adult life, as an optimizer. And she immediately said, yeah, you've got that perfectionism in you, just like your father, or something to that effect. And I beg to differ. I do think that there is a certain level of perfectionism in almost everybody, because it's that ego piece of you, which my father has, my father-in-law as well. It could be something that was maybe instilled more in that generation. But what I see in them is when they take on a project, there's an unwillingness to fail. It takes them like 11 billion years to get a project done from start to finish, because they have that craftsman mentality. And maybe it's not even just a craftsman mentality, but they want every little bit to be polished and perfect. Whereas I think as an optimizer, the true differentiation is that you are just willing to fail over and over and over and over again, and you keep coming back, and you want to improve your craft. So pottery is the perfect analogy for this, because it's almost like, why do you want to come back and take a beating over and over and over again? And it's because you're an optimizer at heart. That's how I feel about it. So let me know if you think there's a differentiation between what a perfectionist is and what an optimizer is. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and stay toasty.